of the gender binary. It's about toxic gender binaries, though. It's the story. So the scene is that I had gone surfing, and I was talking to a guy when I was getting out of the water, and he's like, "Oh, that's a really sweet surfboard." And I said, "Oh, it's my friend's. He lent it to me." And he's like, "Oh, that's very nice of you, or nice of him to lend you a really nice longboard." And it was my partner's, and I went back and I told him what the guy had said, and I was like, well, in my head, I was like, I had sex with him, so of course he would give me this longboard, and my partner was like, well, it was still nice of me. And I was deeply offended. So a bit of the backstory is that my partner was raised on a Gulf island in a sort of commune scenario by lesbians. And so he didn't even know that sexual orientations were a thing until he was 11. So he was raised sort of like devoid of this toxic programming of gender and sexuality. And I was raised in the opposite scenario in 90s Langford. Where like my worth as a human being is based on my fuckability. And like the biggest insult that you could give a woman is, I would never fuck her. And suck my dick is an insult. So like the preciousness of the male body was not honored. So that's the scenario that we're working with. So I was like really deeply offended that I was like, yeah, my sex is worth a longboard. And I like didn't realize that when he was saying this, that I felt that he was like devaluing me as a human being, that I would be lucky that he would lend me a surfboard even though I had sex with him. And I was just suddenly acutely aware of the fact that I'm on a stage talking into a microphone. And so we talked this out a little bit, and like he was also deeply offended. He's like, I have sex with you too. That's, I mean, this really unique opportunity to sort of like deconstruct this like societal thing that most of us take for granted, that like a woman's sexuality has value, and like women's sexuality, they just like give it away, like it's no value at all, like the male body's not precious. So I've kind of been like experimenting with like, having sex with him like I would have sex with a woman, like just like experimenting with like his sensuality and like what is it like to treat his body as precious and his sexuality as precious. I realize that it's not a zero-sum game. Just because his sexuality has value doesn't take away from the value of my sexuality, which I thought it was before, like, you know, like the guy gives away sex, the girl's the gatekeeper of the sex, so if like I'm lucky to have sex with him, then there's something wrong with me. So yeah, even though I think that my sexuality is still worth a custom longboard, I am still lucky to get to suck his dick.